and today I'm going to review a thing. Hey, remember when Cartoon Network did real-life shows? Alright, it seems that you do. I'm sorry. Back in 2008, 2009, all the way to 2011, 2012, Cartoon Network had a time block called CN Real. It was basically something the network was experimenting with by taking live-action shows and putting them on Cartoon Network. Putting live-action shows on Cartoon Network. Doing the same thing that Nickelodeon does. Mixing cartoon shows with live-action shows on the network. Except there was a problem. Live-action shows were on Cartoon Network. Do you see what's wrong with this? You're probably wondering where CN Real is nowadays, because they really don't show it anymore. And that answer is, yeah, you're right, they don't show it anymore, because it was awful! I actually wouldn't say it was awful, because I'll admit I watched CN Real and I didn't see anything wrong with it at the time. It was just something Cartoon Network was experimenting with. It was basically a what-if moment in a way. They wanted to know how well live-action shows would do on a Cartoon Network. The audience really didn't like it, because again, it's Cartoon Network. You're supposed to just air cartoons. Not many people were very happy about CN Real. In fact, some of the shows that even aired during the CN Real block were cancelled immediately. Though, even though CN Real wasn't that big of a success, you do have to give Cartoon Network credit for at least trying something. They experimented with a live-action show block on their Cartoon Network, and then immediately got rid of it when they got feedback that it was a bad idea. So, they actually learned from their mistakes. Something another network should really start working on when they put shows out. So today, if you haven't guessed, I'm actually going to be talking about the CN Real shows that aired on the CN Real block. And I'm only going to be talking about the shows that I have seen. Specifically, 5 shows that were live action that were on Cartoon Network. Now I am aware that there were more live action shows than 5 on Cartoon Network, but I really haven't seen the ones that I won't be talking about. I'm only going to be talking about the ones that I have actually seen. I don't think it makes sense for me to talk about something that I've never seen in my life or have experienced in my life. I've kind of learned that the hard way from past experiences. Said, let's get into the CN Real shows. So to start off, let's talk about the shows that didn't necessarily make it past one season. Specifically, only had 6 episodes. One of them was called Brain Rush. It was a game show, an actually pretty clever game show, that took place on a roller coaster. So the game show host would pick somebody and bring them on a roller coaster and ask them a bunch of questions on the roller coaster. And they'd get to win money. And that's all I remember about the show. It's just a game show that took place on a roller coaster. And it had 6 episodes, and I can't find any clips about it. That's how you know it was successful. Now, I will admit, you know, roller coaster game shows, that can be... Oh, no, that sucks. I was just gonna say it was a pretty decent idea, but no, that's... Now that I think about it. The second one that also didn't do very well and only had 6 episodes was Bobby Says. That starred Bobby J. Thompson, who some of you may have remembered from your childhood as he played Stanley on That's So Raven. He was the kid that was very, you know, hey, I'll get you this, you get me that. That makes deals with people but lies all the time. He's one of those kids. Just watch That's So Raven. I remember watching this show and actually kind of enjoying it a bit. The unfortunate part is, because it was such a really short-term show, I don't remember that much about it. But I do know that Bobby Says was basically like Simon Says. He's like, Bobby Says, do this. I can understand why it was canceled after 6 episodes. That's... just Stick being Stanley, dude. Don't. You'll get your own spin-off one day, just a better one. Alright, with those out of the way, let's talk about the ones that actually survived CN Real. Those two shows were specifically cancelled and somewhat ended the CN Real block. The following next shows were actually, they expanded longer than CN Real, in fact, with both having 4 seasons. And it's kind of amazing that these were the only 2 shows that Cartoon Network actually held on to until 2011. One of them was called Dude, What Would Happen? That was one of the shows that I personally grew up with, I found fascinating, and I could understand why it was a big success on Cartoon Network. The show featured 3 teenagers that would just hang in a garage and would basically ask the question, dude, what would happen if blank blank blank? And it'd be some kind of ridiculous scheme or like cool extreme trick that they would put together. So it'd be like, dude, what would happen if we took 2 chairs and basically slingshotted them into the sky? That's not exactly what happened in an episode, but that's just to give you a basic idea of what the show was basically about. That's kind of the format of it. And it did very well. Like I said, it made it to a good 4 seasons, so obviously this show was doing something right other than Brain Rush and Bobby Says. The other show was Destroy, Build, Destroy, which is another show that made it to 4 seasons. That, like Brain Rush, was another game show on the network and was hosted by Andrew W.K. You might know him. He looks like this. That name might sound familiar to some people. That one was another fascinating one, as it brought the idea of destroying things and building things to life. And it was explosive. There were a lot of explosions. There were 2 teams, a green team and a blue team. And say you had a car. You had 2 cars, in fact. And you blew up the cars. The teams would have to form their own new vehicle or gadget or machine or whatever task they were told to build. And they basically had to make a really epic new version of it. And then there'd be a winner, and the winner would get to destroy the loser's car or machine or whatever they built. And if there was a tie, both gadgets or trucks or machines get destroyed. And it was just a big explosive mess. My vivid memories from that show, I only remember 2 specific episodes. One of them where they built the Scooby-Doo Mystery Machine, and the other one where the dudes from Dude, What Would Happen guest starred and were their own team. Now that I think about it, that might have been the same episode. But I still thought it was a pretty epic show. Like I said, those 2 shows seemed to be the ones that succeeded very well, and they surpassed CN Real. Unfortunately, those 2 shows came to an end after 4 seasons in 2011, and Cartoon Network for a while was live-action show free. And then things got a bit incredible. That was an awful pun. Shortly after Dude, What Would Happen and Destroy, Build, Destroy were cancelled, a new live-action show aired on Cartoon Network called Incredible Crew. It went from 2012 to 2013. At least I'm pretty sure. It might have just been 2013, but it was in that realm. Because I remember 2012, they premiered one of the episodes on New Year's Eve. Or at least the cast members were hosting on New Year's Eve. Incredible Crew was basically a comedy show. It focused on 6 teenagers, one of them being the voice of Finn the Human from Adventure Time, and they basically performed songs and did little skits, kind of like a new version of all that. I found it pretty funny. The episodes were only 11 minutes long, the same length as a cartoon, but not a lot of people found it funny. In fact, a lot of people thought it was what was destroying Cartoon Network at the time. Though, after many complaints to cancel the show, Incredible Crew was canceled after 13 episodes. And I was a bit sad because I actually liked Incredible Crew. I know a lot of people didn't, but I did. I found it funny. I thought the songs were catchy. I put shaving cream on stuff. That's one of the songs in the show. That's how ridiculous the show was. Honestly, the only reason I liked the show was because Jeremy, who voices Finn, was in the show, and I liked seeing him in the show. I don't know. It's just kind of weird seeing him not playing Finn. Is funny. And those were the live-action Cartoon Network shows. Now, I'll admit, Incredible Crew wasn't really part of CN Real, but it was one of the live-action shows that I have seen that were on Cartoon Network. As of this day, CN Real and the idea of live action shows do not exist on Cartoon Network anymore. It's just cartoons now, the way it's supposed to be intended. And I don't know, I feel that CN Real, again, was a very successful experiment, but failed miserably. Like, I give them credit that they at least wanted to experiment with something and then realized, yeah, this isn't doing well, so just drop the whole thing. But they at least kept two of the shows that did very well. Obviously, people really like Destroy, Build, Destroy, and Dude, What Would Happen. The other two shows, I can understand why. I don't exactly know about the other shows that aired during the CN Real segment, because I know there were at least two more shows that I didn't mention, but again, I never watched those. I only watched the ones that got my interest, which were the following four shows, and Incredible Crew, which aired years after CN Real, and the other two live-action shows were canceled. So those are my thoughts on the CN Real live-action shows on Cartoon Network. Now I want to hear what you guys think, because obviously I'm hoping most of you were alive when that happened. How did you feel about CN Real? If you were around for when CN Real was a thing, how did you feel about live-action shows on the Cartoon Network? Did you like the shows? Did you not like the shows? Did I mention one of the shows that you watched? Do you agree, disagree with anything that I said in this video? Tell me in the comments, and also leave me your suggestions for whatever movie, TV show, or random thing you want me to talk about next. Thanks for watching The Wild Review. I'm The Wild Reviewer, and you just saw me review a thing.